Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, yes, it's visible. Please, Phyllis, bring it in full screen mode.
Okay, sir.
Please make it full screen.
The sign near to the minus sign, you have to press it. After that, it will come into the full mode, full screen mode. Not over here. In the presentation, in the bottom side only of the PPT. From where you are supposed to make it large now, there is a
Beside volume option, there is,
yes, yes,
yes.
this one. Yes, 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 yes. This
Beside,
top one.
beside.
My इसके साथ वाला no 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 minus के nearby to the minus. Yes,
Yes, yes.
Is it okay, sir?
Yes, yes,
yes.
it's
Now
okay.
it's okay.
Continue, bro.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I am Madhavi Banna, pursuing BTech final year, Department of Civil Engineering, GMRIT, Rajam, India. First of all, I would like to thank ICCME 2021 for giving a freshers like me, a startups like me, a great platform to share our views and thoughts here. Thank you very much, sir. Today, my topic is scientometric analysis on biobitumen. Going into the contents, as it is a simple topic, I make it precise. Introduction, methodology, results, and conclusion. Going to introduction, scientometric analysis. The name itself, scientometric, resembles the word science. It deals with science. It is a qualitative and quantitative study of science. It aims to analyze and evaluate science. The term scientometrics is a field which applies quantitative methods to the study of science as an information process. It is often done using bibliometrics, which is a measurement of impact of scientific publications. It usually analyzes, evaluates, and graphical representation of science and technology information. Generally, when we go into a topic, first we think about who, what, and where, and the answer gives by scientometric analysis for any research. Coming to the viewers, where it is a software. It is a software tool for constructing and visualizing bibliometric network. If the time permits, I'll go into the viewers viewer, was viewers viewer software and show you. And the biobitumen. It is an asphalt alternative made from non-petroleum based renewable resources. These sources include sugar, rice, corn, wastes, potato starch, natural tree and gum resins, etc. Non-petroleum based bitumen binders can be colored, which can reduce the temperature of road surface and reduce the urban heat islands. That's why we're going with biobitumens nowadays widely. And going into the methodology, what we followed, scientometric analysis and biobitumen. We use Weaver's software as a main input in it. We insert a Scopus data that belongs to the biobitumen extracted from UTM. We inserted it in Weaver's viewer. choose the type of analysis and counting method, and ours is the bibliometric analysis, so we choose bibliometry. I'll show you how I choose it after this presentation if the time permits. These are all the options over here: co-authorship, co-occurrence, citations, bibliometric coupling, and co-citation. And for everything, there will be a like this: authors, organizations, and countries. Link between co-authorship and authors, link between co-authorship and organization, link between co-authorship and countries. Likewise, co-authorship, all keywords, author keywords, index keywords, citations, documents, sources, authors, organization, countries. Bibliometric coupling with documents, sources, authors, organizations, countries. Co-citations, cited references, cited sources, cited authors. Likewise, we have been collecting all these visualizations and the top 20 documents, authors, keywords we presented over here. And these are the results we get. Year-wise distribution. These are from Scopus data. Year-wise distribution of papers. Year-wise, like in 1998, there is only one paper that belongs to biobitumen is published. And in 2021, 2020, 45, 2019, 52, and the highest is in 2019. When someone goes into something research about biobitumen, they don't have to waste their time on searching of all the data in net. They can open our paper and they can see all the details in one single paper. It makes their work very easy, because when we go into a research, we'll definitely go through references. We can't do anything by no references and won't refer anything. It must be not like that. We must need some references. That too, most we all think to be a great reference, we should refer some great referenced authors or great referenced paper. And that precious important information is in this paper. And authorship pattern: single author, double author, triple, quadruple, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many papers are being published with these multiple authors? And the percentage is represented here. Authorship pattern year-wise. Here is the authorship pattern, single, double, likewise. And here is year-wise authorship pattern. And we can see it clearly over years and the authorship pattern. Next, authorship productivity. We can get average authors per paper. Number of authors by number of papers per year. The year we can get total number of papers, total number of authors, and average authors per paper, and then author productivity per author. Productivity per author, number of papers by number of authors. Degree of collaboration. DC equals to NM by NM plus NS, where DC is degree of collaboration, NM number of multiple authored papers, NS number of single authored papers. This gives a confirmation that how many number of multiple authored papers are there, how many number single authored papers are there in a particular year. Pattern of co-authorship. CAI equals to NIJ by NIO into NOJ by NOO into 100. NIJ, number of papers having authors in block 1. Number of NIO, total output of block 1. NOJ, number of papers having J authors for all books. This one, total. NOO, total number of papers for all authors and all blocks. This one. Country-wise documents, citations, and total link strength. This is the one we get from VYS Viewer. As a picture is not very so clear, so I'm willing to show the VYS Viewer software. Hence we entered it top 20, it only showed top 20. If we enter a top 30, it will show top 30 also. The top country which has most cited documents is United States, followed by China, France, United Kingdom, Malaysia, Japan, Italy, Sweden, South Korea, and so on. You can also know which organization is most cited and most excuse me most cited articles having, and it is Western Research Institute 365 and nth St. Larimin. This is the organization having published one document, and it is the most cited article. And next is a source. We definitely have some source, and the most cited paper that having source construction building material, followed by fuel, and it has a huge link strength. Keywords that are occurring times, most times is binder, usually because it's biobitumen, it uses the word binder, followed by asphalt, bins, asphalt pavements, bio-oil, rheology, temperature, so on. Here is an example we taken from biobitumen top 20 papers. We taken it all from top 20 papers of biobitumen from doing scientific analysis. We get these results from all the papers we collected. You know, the process they followed, the material they taken, uh, the temperature, and the properties of the biobitumen and all. We presented this because many of has the doubt what in what way it is useful for us. So we presented it here. As we tried it for biobitumen scientometric analysis, we can do it for any other topic also, so that we can get the top 20 or 30 papers. We can refer it, and we can go through everything for our research or some uh, paper writing as an author, etc. Thank you. And here is a conclusion. This analysis explores that the majority of papers by multi-authors and a few by single authors. We have seen it before. Many of the papers are by multiple authors, and very few are by single authors. This report gives a brief data concept of scientometric analysis for scientific literature and also the discussions of findings. Other bodies like documents, most cited authors, most influenced institutions, and countries involved in the study of biobitumen, and also visualize it together with the citation and the total link strength. The average degree of collaboration was found to be 0.97 for this. The formula by the Subramanian is used to calculate degree of collaboration, gives a very high degree of collaboration in this paper. This paper also reveals the results of 100% replacement of biobitumen, which we have seen before. The average co-authorship index for all the authors reflects the world average in the journal and improving trend of co-authored papers. And the scope of this is it provides valuable assistance to librarians and documentalists in central scientific agencies, and it also can give we can also develop the scientometric analysis for different topics, not only for biobitumen. We can go with any of the topic. We can extract the Scopus files from UTM, and if we give it to the viewer software, we can get we can get the top 20 authors, cited countries, the most cited countries and link strength, so that we can have a new topic on that. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Madhvi, for giving this lecture. For any query, one can ask in the chat box. So no query yet. So thank you, Madhvi, for your presentation. Now I would like to invite paper ID 16 to upload his presentation. Okay, Madhvi, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, one question has been raised late. How will you know that what type of biobitumen used?
What type of biobitumen is used? By giving we have the data of papers, no? We'll go through the paper and we can know.
That means by reviewing the past literatures of different, you will able to understand.
Yes,
Okay, okay,
actually we have given the information about the papers, the
okay,
most cited papers, like that, so we can go through the papers and we'll know which type of biobitumen is used.
okay, okay. So thank you. Now I would like to invite paper ID 16.
So, am I audible to all?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Please full screen it.
I already put it on full screen mode, so it is
But
okay.
it's, no, it's not in showing here. There must be some compatibility issues, I think.
Right now.
No, 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 it's not showing. You can upload a PDF file also if you wish.
I think now it is in full mode, full screen mode.
Full screen mode is not showing here. There must be some compatibility issues. If you have PDF, then you can upload the PDF and you can read from there
No, I have
also.
in PPT, not in PDF, so I have to save it again. Then I can upload it in mode.
Yes, just as a save as more, you can save it in PDF.
Just give me a minute. Is it okay?
Yes, yes. Now it's okay.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, my presentation topic is review for sustainable application of different waste materials in rigid payments. So, the contents is followed by introduction, different waste materials, discussion, conclusion, and the references. So, first, the availability of any good infrastructure which exhibits the improvement in the economy of a country cannot be even picturized without the utilization of the cement. So that is the most consumable material after the water, as reported by the Botsels et al. In 2018. And this utilization of cement is found to be increased with the rate of 10%, as studied by Mehraj and Bhatt in 2013, which is already and already has been studied. And the consumption of and the production of this cement is varying from 0.83 to 43.8 million ton per year, as per Indian Mineral Yearbook 2015. So by looking at the data, you can imagine how much production of cement is going on and how much consumption is going on. So there is a need of the study to how we can just make a sustainable environment, because during the production of the cement, different hazardous gas supposed to emit, which affect the our surrounding environment, the health of humans, animals, and the water species also. Along with that, it also affect the crop production. Okay, so there is some guidelines have been issued by Indian standards like IRC 60, which is lime fly ash concrete, in order to utilize the fly ash, and GGBFS also is there, for which like IS 12089 and 455 for Portland slag cement, granulated slag cement, to utilize those in the concrete. Okay, but for what about the other waste material? This is not the only few waste material which are affecting our community. Okay, so the production waste in India from different sources is ranging from 0.10 to 51 or 5.14 million tons per year, as per Srivastava and Chini in 2009. However, the WHO also reported that out of 82% of the deaths, 10.7% deaths are reported because of the chronic respiratory diseases, asthma, and chronic obstructive pulmonary. Okay, so that is happening because of the some workers are working in some like cement factories or the residing nearby there. So because of the emitting this hazardous gases and the small particles of this cement dust also come in, also like float in the air, then they will go into the human body. Because of that, these are the responsible for this different type of diseases. So Mehraj and Bhatt in 2013 conducted a study, and they found different diseases which are responsible for this. These are the like respiratory cancer in respiratory system, chest tightness, impairment of lung function, and others. Okay, so which also affect the wildlife, and how it affect the crop production, because it covers the upper surface of the leaf. Because of that, this they are not able to absorb the sunlights and other like natural process. All of you are very well aware how it will happen. So that is the main reason about behind that. Okay, so the objective of this study is to just identify the different waste material and different way how we can utilize those waste material in the construction purposes, and how we can create a sustainable environment by utilizing in a sufficient manner and up to the maximum extent. Okay, so these are the different bioproducts which I enlisted over here, that are recycled concrete aggregate, red clay brick waste, fly ash, bagasse, GGBFS, metal furnace slab, plastic waste, and the recycled asphalt pavement. Besides this, there are other waste material also, but I am not able to cover this all the waste materials. You can say electric waste material, some other type of e-waste or other waste will be there. Okay, so I am just going to discuss over here this type of material only. So first I am going to discuss about the RCA, recycled concrete aggregate. What is this RCA? This means the already constructed structure which there is need to demolish those, and or you can say demolish structure. So we have to we have to keep the aggregate from this structure, and we have to utilize it instead of the natural aggregate. By doing so, we can just preserve our natural aggregate which we are supposed to obtain or occur from the hills or the rocks. Okay, so study already have been conducted by Kuwait in 2010, Ziao and Flanker in 2017, which says that 100% replacement of this RCA with the natural aggregates will result in the reduction of the requisite property. Means you can say compressive strength up to 20% and the elastic modulus up to 40%. Okay, and the Cuttle in 1997 reported that we can utilize this type of material as the replacement of the fine aggregate without any changes in the requisite strength and the workability. Okay, and it provides also greater shear resistance, and there will be no decrement in the strength will be observed in case of the deformed bars. However, the strength will be found to decrease from 50 to 100% in case of the plain bars. Okay, as reported by Ziao and Flonka in 2007. While in case of RCBW, red clay brick waste, that is waste material which is obtained during the manufacturing of the bricks, which are required for the construction of the building, like as the partition of the different rooms. Okay, so there will be some dust of this red clay bricks will be there, which we have to utilize, or you can just crush this down for in order to do your study. So for the same, by considering the same material, Robayo in 2016 concluded that 10% of this material can be used as the replacement of the cement. Okay, which give you the highest compressive strength. Okay, and beyond the later this 10%, there will be some reduction will be observed in the compressive strength and the other properties also. While Poon and Chon confirms that 100% of utilization of this actually this Poon and Chon utilizes both this RCBW and this RCA recycling concrete aggregate. Those utilize 100% utilization of RCA, which increase in the OMC, while the maximum dry density get decreases. Okay, but by incorporation of this RCBW, further result in the further increment in the optimum moisture content and the reduction in the maximum dry density. Okay, so this was reported by the Poon and Chon, while Topic et al. Shows that more than 20% of the recycled concrete powder. Okay, this is the from cremic. This cremic powder was used, so which shows that there will be some reduction decrement in the compressive strength. However, the flexible strength was found on the highest side. Okay, in comparison to the compressive strength. Okay, so another is the fly ash. Fly ash already has been discussed in the previous papers, today's presentations also. But over here again, I want to just share few references. So fly ash, some codes are already over here. That is IRC 60 or IRC IS 1489. Okay, which gives some guideline regarding the same, how we have to utilize this fly ash or the lime in different combinations. Okay, so Gerard and Hansen observed that durability of pavement increases with an incorporation of 45% of fly ash with dense graded aggregate. Okay, while Anupama et al. In 2017 proposed that 25% of fly ash and bagasse ash result in the increase in the bearing capacity of the lower surface layer of pavement, while unconfined compressive strength will get increased with 30% fly ash and the 35% of the bagasse ash. Actually, this paper is focused on the utilization of this waste material as the lower layer of the pavement. Okay, this Bang et al. Also concluded that 50% of fly ash as the microsphere, fly ash microsphere. What is this? This is the superfine fly ash is having diameter D50 and D90 in a specific range, like 0.63 micrometer to 8.23 micrometers. Okay, and the 8% ultrafine fly ash also. Okay, so these were used. He suggested we can utilize this, which will result in the increment or the improvement in the strength of the concrete. Okay, so thereafter the bagasse, which I want to discuss over here, bagasse already people are just focusing on this. So different studies already been studied, and 20% of these bagasses was found not like harmful because of its high surface area, silica content, large amount of Al2O3, Fe2O3, and low density of specific gravity than cements. So because of this applications of this bagasse, as we can utilize up to the 20% in the concrete mix. While in 2013, Modani and Weyer concluded that 5% substitution of the bagasse as in low grade concrete will result in the improvement of the compressive strength up to the 12%, along with the enhancement of the workability. And GGBS there are already some codes are given, like 12089 and 455 for the slab. Okay, slab, Portland cement. Okay, so over here also 50% of replacement of OPC can be done with the GGBS, as reported by the Manjunathan and Das. But there is an interesting research done by Mehta and Siddiqui in 2018, where they completely replaced the cement in the concrete with the rice husk gas and the bagasse, where the 15 rice husk gas was a proportion of rice husk gas was 15%, and rest was the GGBS, means 85% of GGBS. But for the same, there will be a question that how they are going to they made that. They use this alkali acidic solution. I mentioned in the slide this sodium silicate and the sodium hydroxide, and by doing mixing it, they were succeed in the preparing this type of concrete, and this was the high strength concrete, not the normal ones. This is the high strength was concrete, and the 90 days curing time period they achieved around 64 MPa strength. Okay, so but in this case also we have to analysis, we have to do further investigation whether there are some adverse effect on the like water contamination can be done. Okay, so ladle furnace slag is also there. The study has been conducted in the ladle furnace slag, and it was found that we can utilize up to some extent of the ladle furnace in the concrete mix. Some plastic waste, which is reported by several researchers, that can be utilized up to the maximum up to the 30%. Okay, but the main reason is that the workability get decreased because the incorporation of this plastic waste in the concrete. Okay, and the wrap it is the recently it is the like most attractive point of the research. Wrap is the aggregate which is obtained from the already existing bitumen pavement, recycled asphalt pavement. So we have to utilize the aggregate from over there, and we can utilize it from the instead of the natural aggregate. So it was reported that we can utilize it for the 15% of RCA blend with the wrap, as reported by Arul Raza in 2014. Okay, so the discussion and conclusion, it is the responsibility of the peoples and the government to enhance or to propose some guidelines to the companies and the researchers also to utilize this type of different waste material in the construction practices. If it is not, we cannot do so. So there should be some, the government can implement some tax policies, like they can force peoples and the industries that if you are not going to utilize this type of waste material, in that case you have to fine, you have to pay some taxes. Okay, like we are supposed to do in case of our like vehicles, some their taxes will be in case of the fines will be there, because this is our Indian mentality that without doing so we are not going to do whatever our government says. And as per the report of the Center of Science and Environment, this production of construction and demolition waste is also there, which is around 2 to 3 billion tons globally, and which are having 30 to 40% of the concrete waste. Okay, so and around about only 1% is going to recycle, and you can imagine how we are progressing in utilizing of these different waste materials. So there is a need to utilize this in a sufficient manner in order to save our environment and to create a sustainable environment. Okay, so which may affect the health of the all the people's environment and the wild animals also. So this is from my side. These are the references. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Amardeep, for this presentation. Only one query from my side, that fly ash admixtures, it has a issue that it takes time for its pozzolanic activity. So for the concrete to set, in one word we can say. So how one can overcome this issue, because in road construction we need to open up the road fast without delaying the traffic. So the use of fly ash admixtures in rigid pavement may cause delay in constructions.
Yes, it can be like while this hardening of the concrete is based on the like how much this chemical reaction is going to take place during the hydration process. So whether there will be some material of this like calcium oxide or there will be some reactive material will be there. So we can just make some admixture also. So it will preserve some water, or maybe it will enhance this hydration process. Okay, so those type of materials are there, admixtures are there which you can be utilized, and we can do so, or some techniques, new techniques also can be done, like precasting. Like you are from, I think you are from structural engineering, so casting of this type of payments can be, think of that, like maybe in future, but we can do that.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. So, thank you for your presentation. Next paper ID is 15. It is from same author, Amardeep. You can upload your presentation.
Is it in full mode, full screen mode?
No, it's not in full screen mode.
Okay, I have to save it again. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes, it's okay.
So the next
Continue.
presentation is of my next presentation on topic of the vocabulary analysis of an urban area on the gender basis and the combined model approach. So this paper is generally contributing in creating a sustainable environment for the pedestrian. Okay, so how we can do that? So these are the contents of the paper: introduction, need of the study, objective or background studies, site selection, data collection, assessment of vocabulary models, conclusion, and future scope. So introduction: what is the vocabulary? It is the measure that examine how amenable a locality is to walk, how pedestrians feel to free to walk in a specific location or the neighborhood, which define the level of built environment, how it is pedestrian friendly, so that they can travel without any restriction or any difficulties. So before the invention of this vehicles, there were two modes of the movement. One is the vehicle, and another is the bullock cart. Okay, so but after the invention of this vehicles, etc., so people are not focusing on the walkability. Okay, so there is a need to assess the weakness of this pedestrian network of specific community. Okay, what is the advantages of this? Why we have to do that? It will be very cost effective, as we have to travel by our own. There is no need to fill the petrol and anything. Okay, it is a pleasant mode of the communication. Like while you are going to travel, you have to make contact with some other people also. So that will create an environmental friendly environment, and economic vibrance will be there. Economic vibrance means people can share business and they can do some shopping, etc., and government also can be benefited because of the collecting of the revenue, like in case of the some tourist palace. If people are not supposed to travel on the their foot, so how they are going supposed to come over there and to visit over there? Okay, so it also help in the improvement in the health also. So why is the need? So it is okay that we already discussed, but what is the need of the actual need? Actually need is the production and consumption of the petroleum products. From this table you can see what is the rate of the production and the consumption of the petroleum products over here from 2009 to the 15. This is the little bit old data, but from over here you can get a overview. Okay, so you can see it is going to increase from year to year, and the mode of share of road traffic fatality, how many people are going to die or going to meet some accident while traveling on the road, like an you are like pedestrian in case of Mumbai, Delhi, and rural highways in India. Okay, so that is also increasing. So therefore it is the need of, there is a requirement to study for the same in order to reduce this fatality and the accident, and to reduce our dependence on the this vehicles or the, so we can reduce the petroleum consumption. Right now the petroleum cost is around more than 100 rupees for 1 liter. Okay, so the main objective is to know about the pedestrian perception. What is their perception for that specific locations? What are the different parameters which can, if we are going to provide those, so there will be some improvement in the walkability of those specific locations. Okay, so identification of principal parameter which affect the vocability, development of different vocability score model which can be used in the future in order to assess or to provide some vocability threshold for the uh, urban planner for the specific city. Okay, so this is the different background study which were conducted by focusing on the vocability only. So like you can see in Managov, Gennady in 11, Gani et al. 2016. So they propose different methods and models by focusing on the same. Okay, just give me a minute. Actually, I have connected with the another source of the light. Just give me a second. कुछ नहीं. Yes. Now, okay, for the same purpose, we selected different study sites. Uh, study sites for the conducting the study, and for the different parameters were there, which were as per the IRC 103H mentioned in this slide. Sidewalk facility footfall should have a width more than 1800 mm, and curb should be there having 150 mm. Pedestrian volume should be high, and it should be uh, attractive points. Okay, for the pedestrian. Data collection, for the data collection questionnaire was prepared, and for the questionnaire also it should be general inform, and it should be structured, and it should be very easy to understand each and every person, whether it is educated people or the non-educated people. Therefore, three study sites, Hisar, Chandigarh, and the Jaipur, were selected for the study. Different locations, as you can see, which are comes under the category of the terminal, commercial, and the institutional or residential, and the recreational. Okay, so all the category was considered for the study. So these are the different study parameters which were taken into account. So these are the different factor, and these are the different variables which comes under these different factors. So I am not going to discuss in detail because of the restriction of the time. So from this figure one, which is implementing the different factors and the different ratings or importance ratings of the different pedestrian, which is based on the like combined model, and this is the for the combined model which is given by the different pedestrians. Okay, so for the assessment of the vocability models, there were different analytic strategy which is used for the data analysis. One is descriptive and statistics, data analysis, Cronbach alpha test, and the stepwise regression were done. Okay, in order to examine the factor which are affecting most the vocability, and to examine the reliability of the variables, and to identify the best model of vocability, which was done by the stepwise regression analysis. From this table 5, you were able to see this Cronbach alpha value, which is 0.775 in case of the gender based difference, in case of female, male, and the combined model, all the values are given over here. Okay, so for this value KMO, which is mentioned over here, greater than 0.6 is accepted. Okay, so and in the table 6, by on the basis of that, this importance rating, you are able to see the different parameters which are mentioned over here, that for the in the case of the male category, different PER2, TRR8, these are the parameters which are giving more importance, so that if we are going to implement those, so vocability will get improved. So from the conclusion and future scope, I'm going to conclude over here. The safety from traffic was the prime factor in case of the in Hisar city from the pedestrian point of view. As thus, this sidewalk infrastructure was not over there, as pedestrian signals was not there, guardrails, foot over bridges, and many other facilities were missing. Okay, so similar type of trend was observed in case of the Jaipur city. However, in case of the Chandigarh, pedestrians were found more concerned about the safety from crime. Okay, following by the safety from traffic. Safety from crime means people are not supposed to travel in the during the night, because maybe of the less patrolling of the police, or the absence of the cameras, anything can be happen. Okay, so the pedestrian, so among all the vocability models, combined model was found most appropriate because of the high R square value. Over by looking at the table, you will say this is the only 0.31. Okay, so in case of the vocability analysis, we you can go for the review papers. We already observe such kind of R square value, but that is because of the same giving of the same rating for the different facility in a specific locality. Okay, so the trend line will be almost it is r when you will get the RSK value high, when it will go is to the in upward direction or the downward direction. Okay, but over here it will be slightly maybe you can say constant around. Okay, so study can be extended further for the future scope by developing more ages models based on the ages of the different pedestrian that can be categorized into the male or female, also, or a combined approach can be done. Okay, like child to senior citizen, there will be some different like expectation of the pedestrian in the specific locations. Okay, so different vocabulary thresholds can be proposed using this proposed models, and different methodology like fuzzy clustering, hierarchical clustering, or many others can be used for the same. So these are the references. Thank you. So if you have any question, please.
So thank you, Amardeep, for your presentation. No question has been asked in the chat box by any participant. Any participant who wishes to ask any question, they can write in the chat box. We will discuss it. Okay, thank you, Amardeep, for your presentation. Now I would like to invite Pirzada Danis, paper ID 19.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Paper ID 19, sir, I'll be presenting. I'm co-author of that.
Okay, thank you. You may present.
Okay, sir, I'll start presenting.
Okay.
Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Paper ID 19 topic is study on cost modeling and economic design of superstructure. These are authors. Actually, there are two types of, most commonly there are two types of buildings used: steel and reinforced concrete buildings. Whenever we take any project, we need to determine which is more economic, and in this paper we will see which is more economic for common residential type building in Chennai area as per rates in Chennai area. But we'll see that based on superstructure only. Superstructure means above ground part. Now the objective of paper is to find economic superstructure among reinforced concrete and steel superstructure. And for steel structure, we'll also apply bracing. After that, we'll analyze. After that, the buildings will be analyzed, designed, optimized, and labor and material cost will be. We'll get material and labor costs from those. Methodology is simple. First, we take a residential building plan, simple residential building plan, model it in ETABS. Then model is designed and optimized. Then we calculate material and labor cost as per costs in Chennai. Then we analyze the results. This is the plan of building which we adopted. For concrete structure, we use simple M20 grade concrete and Fe 415 steel. For steel buildings, we use standard sections like standard I sections, and for bracings, we use standard angle sections. Here it's shown that model of a building is shown here. For design, we considered dead and live loads and earthquake loads. After that, after this we designed and optimized this building. There were three models for it. One was reinforced concrete model. Second model is steel model. Third is steel with bracing model. We designed and optimized these models. Then after that, we use we estimated costs for labor and uh, material and labor costs. Here, results are shown in this table, like dead weight of beams and columns, weight of slabs, material costs calculated for concrete, steel, and steel unbraced and steel braced, means steel with bracing. After that, how much the material cost, how much total material cost there is for all these three types of buildings, and total labor costs. Now uh, here there are these bar charts for simple visualization of these results. As we can see, dead weight of steel braced and unbraced was less than concrete structure. Because uh, concrete structure is kind of inefficient, because in steel structure we use I sections. They are more efficient, so they have less dead weight. As for total labor cost, it's less for steel structures. As we can see this on top right bar chart. Uh, and for total material cost, it was highest for steel structure. But when we use bracing, uh, total material cost was reduced for steel structure. Based on this, we can draw conclusion that uh, steel braced building showed 22% reduction in dead weight uh, uh, as compared to concrete structure, and total cost of construction was also 5.6% less for braced steel structure as compared to concrete structure, which shows that braced steel structures can be used as economical alternatives for concrete structures. Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Kamil Ashraf, for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Just one query from my side. I have not. Amardeep has asked steel. First query is that steel prices is increasing. How economic aspect will be
Sir,
taken
your
account?
voice got cut. Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Steel prices. The price of a steel when we compare with
Yes, sir.
other materials, it's very increasing. So how uh, it will be useful for economic purpose, as you have been shown in your research.
Actually, I in introduction I have given that price of all materials is increasing, not just steel. Means with duration, with time, uh, price of these materials is increasing because of scarcity and all that.
Uh, for an example, around 5,000 rupees per ton has been increased in case of steel now.
Yes, sir.
So, will it be viable when we
Yes, sir.
compare?
Actually, I forgot to say that in introduction, but we need to means study it as per area, means as per locality. In some localities, steel price may be different, because I have mentioned it. It's as per in Chennai, as per
Okay.
uh, as per rates in Chennai.
Okay. So one another question is that uh, do you think that only economic aspect is sufficient to discuss the safety of a particular structure?
Uh,
Because
Actually, we can means safety is different thing, and means
so
safety and
for an example, if you are talking about the superstructure and you are only focusing on the economic aspect and you are claiming that a steel structure with bracing will be more useful than RCC structure, will it be viable or will it be feasible,
uh,
only economic aspect is taken into account?
uh,
Other
actually
aspects are also.
economic aspect will be sufficient, because when we design, safety is concept, means safety is as per design. When we design it as per code, structure will be safe. So we don't need to, means
Okay.
if we design it as per code, we don't need to think about those things.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So now I would like to invite paper ID 32 Anil Shoru to present his paper.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Thank you.
Good
Right.
afternoon.
I'll just share my presentation. I believe my presentation is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So my name is Anil Soharu, and I'm a PhD student of MET School of Engineering, Gurgaon, Haryana. And my paper title is An Approach Towards Zero Waste Building Construction, paper ID 32. So a brief introduction is that in the present situation, the built environment is one of the key factor for any construction or for the overall society. So what we see presently is the current construction practices are not addressing in holistically the complete sustainability view of the construction. So the requirement, the need of the time is that we must integrate the economical, environmental, and social criteria throughout the life cycle of the building in construction activities. So building must be designed and constructed with the primary focus that whatever the material which is used in getting used, raw material which is getting used in the construction activity must be reused or recycled at the end of the life, so that it should not be dumped to the landfills and increase the landfilling volume and further the requirement for extraction of new raw materials. So the objective of my paper is that we need to focus zero waste construction in our construction practices. The concept of zero waste has been introduced in 1971, and it presents is that whatever raw material which is getting used in the construction activity must be reused, recycled, reused in the original form, or possibly in the original form, or maybe in some other form, but it has to be used so that minimize this raw material utilization can be minimized, and the properties must be adhered. Means like whatever, if we are using a particular aggregate, the property of the aggregate must be adhered till the end of the life cycle of the aggregate. So zero waste, as I said, zero waste has been introduced. This concept has been introduced by Mr. Paul Palmer in 1973. What it represents is the chain of the actions. So first we need to focus that we need to avoid the reuse of new materials. Next step is we need to try to reduce it. If not, then reuse, recycle, recover, treat, and the last option is that dispose. Means like at the end, if nothing can be recovered or reused, then only we should go for the disposal of the material. So this, as it's written, that primary focus of zero waste design is waste reduction and reuse of material. So here is the life cycle of the building. So life cycle of any construction building comprises of design, raw material extraction, manufacturing, construction, use, maintenance, and deconstruction. So in our study, the primary focus is towards design and raw material. So in this, first we'll talk about the design approach. For design approach, there are many elements which need to be taken care to step forward towards the zero waste construction, so that our construction site should be having less wastage, and at the end we should target that no wastage should be generated at a whole. So first is we need to implement life cycle assessment techniques for the construction projects. Second is activity process, whatever the inherent wastage which is there in the construction of any particular item, which is there, which can't be avoided, that need to be taken care at the design phase. Then we need to explore the demountability in building. Means like walls, roofs can be demounted at the end of the life, and it can be prefabricated. Next is prefabrication of the building, that it should be fabricated in a factory environment so that the wastage can be minimized at the construction site. Then we need to implement various the certification methods, building certification methods are there. And then at the last, we need to focus on circular economy on the construction side. So I'll take you through some of the primary things. So first is building life cycle assessment, wherein the scope, first phase one, we need to identify what is the scope and goal of the activities. Then life cycle inventory is been prepared, which is a flow chart of all the activities in the construction activity. Third is that whatever flow chart we have prepared for the construction activity, we need to evaluate that what are the potential impacts on the activities on the environment from these activities. Then at the last, we need to interpret that how, based on the findings of life cycle inventory and impact analysis, how we can improve our construction processes in the life cycle of the construction. So then I'll further elaborate on building certification methods. There are n number of certification agencies in overall globe. So primary are BREEAM, LEED, DGNB, IGBC, GERA of India, IGBC of India, Philippines GBC. So they are having different criteria, means like social governance, resource, economy, transport. These are the basic primary objectives they are fulfilling. So these need to be implemented. And if we'll further go down and see that what is the effectiveness of this green rating buildings for the waste reduction, then you can see that BREEAM is weighting almost like 20% for the waste reduction parameters. LEED is contributing to 12%. This DGNB is contributing to 24%, IGBC 18%, GERA 27%, Philippines GBC 15%. So in the next step, this is about the design. In the next step is materials and methods. So material and methods, we need to do a down to top approach. So in first we need to, based on the individual activities, we need to check the material components. Suppose I'll take an example of a door. So first activity is that material of the door, means wood. What is the recyclability we need to study. Then we'll go for the second activity, component. Component means like the fittings of the doors, means like handle and all. These are reusable or they can be reused or utilized. This need to be studied. Then assembly. Then as a whole door, means like door with the handle and all. Can it be demountable? Can it be refixed? These need to be studied. And this is the way we need to work upon, based on the material methods, so that the overall building can be split into material component assembly to avoid the wastage. Then we have further evaluated the cost perspective, that if we'll go for the zero waste approach or the green rating building system certification, what will the impact on cost and overall budget for the project. So what we found is that if in a conventional building, green rating certification contribute to 0.4% to 21% of cost premium over the conventional building. Where, however, this almost in 75% cases, the cost premium is to a range of 0 to 4% only. So which further the payback period for 4%, which is almost for 75% of building, is 7 years. We can take out this break-even period within 7 years, and for a cost premium of 9%, it will take this break-even period of 12 years. However, in this zero waste building, it's not exactly that cost is the only thing. If you'll see the holistic view, means like the overall contribution to the society for reducing the raw material or the waste generation. So the benefit of this approach is much more higher than simply the cost calculations. So in conclusions, what we can conclude is that we should have no wastage generated during any time of the life cycle of building. That need to be ensured. Every material in the building should remain in the material cycle during its lifespan. Raw material must be reused efficiently. And in terms of design, we should ensure that use of right material should be there, and this demountability, prefabrication, these kind of initiatives must be taken care. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anil Shoru, for your presentation. Let me take some questions from the chat box. Uh, First question has been raised that are there some specific materials there which you can use for zero waste? Uh, some specific, if you can name some specific materials are there?
There are many, even I am doing a research on this. So there are many materials, means like suppose this concrete debris, we are generating a brick out of concrete debris with some kind of admixtures, some kind of special admixtures to reuse it in the construction activity itself, construction project itself. Then paver blocks are there. Then we can use waste plastic in bricks, and further in road construction, these kind of materials definitely we can use.
So, uh, because a general question will definitely come, because when you are as far as civil engineering concerned, and you are when a large scale construction is there, some waste will be definitely will be there. So how you are claiming, or your project is claiming to be a zero waste goal?
So we are doing a study that whatever we are quantifying in our study, we are quantifying for some particular projects what are the wastes there, and we are
Okay.
evaluating. We are evaluating. We calculate, once we calculate the overall waste of the project in the absolute figures, that whatever technologies are there or initiatives are there in the overall construction industry, we, based on those techniques, we are analyzing that how these wastage, whatever is generated, can be reused in the project. So we are developing a model for this, and
Okay.
and
Uh,
this further it can be used in a, maybe in a later stage it can be used, that maybe there will be a regulation that we need to, for any construction activity, whatever waste is there, they need to consume in the project itself, so that no wastage from the outside should be left out.
Yeah, thank you. Just one query from my side, because that query has also been raised by someone else. That in the last conclusion slide, you have written that you have to introspect by about different materials, which material you will be using. Yes, in the conclusion side, using the right materials. The word you have used, using the right material. Is there any procedure or any analytic mechanism by which you can find out that this material will be right and it will lead to a zero cost?
Sir, in my paper, I presented a case of product reverse tip. It's
Okay.
exactly the same. Means like it will tell the this, based on this product steward strip, we need to study that this product is suitable for the particular activity or not throughout the life cycle of the building. Means like it's not in the day one that this aggregate need to be used in this concrete. It's not. Even after dismantling of that, whether it can be, it will contribute to zero waste or not, that will be captured in this approach.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now I'd like to invite Rajesh Kumar to give his presentation.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My slides are visible.
Yes, it's visible. Please bring it in the full screen mode.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. So, the title of the presentation will be Agro-Industrial Waste Incorporated.
Just for interruption, it's not in the full screen mode yet. Might be there is some compatibility issues. If you have the PDF, then you can read from there also. In the
PDF,
Google.
actually, in the previous virtual room, I have presented. So, And that room I have presented without full screen. So can I go with like that only?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the topic of presentation will be agro-industrial wastes, incorporated cement, stabilized mud and composites for roof and wall assembly in energy efficient building envelope. This paper is authored by myself, Dr. Rajni Lakhani, one of my MTech student, Vibhakar Kumar Singh, Dr. Mahesh Sharma, and Dr. S.K. Negi. So the outline of the presentation will be firstly an introduction about solid waste, mud fuska, what mud fuska is, the methodology, optimization of mixed proportions, and then methodology to develop and optimization of mud fuska composite blocks, followed by result discussion that we have done study here, conclusions, and then the output and outcome from this project. So as we know that presently in India, about 960 million ton of solid waste is generated from various kind of activities, industrial, mining, municipal, agricultural, and other processes, out of which about 35 million ton are organic waste and 290 million ton are inorganic waste from industrial sources. Regarding solid leather waste, it is one of polluting industry in India because of generation of high amount of solid and liquid waste. About 5 million ton per year solid leather waste is generated in India, and different kind of form like puffing dust, shaving, trimming, flashing, and wet blue trimming. In India, the maximum amount of work is done by CSIR, Central Leather Research Institute, Chennai. They have developed a nano composite, lightweight composite to use them in car, aeroplane. Now, what is mud fuska? Mud fuska is a mixture of soil, wood shaving, and water. And this is not new technique. This is old technique, and it is made up of wood, wheat straw, bagasse, etc. In India, about 550 million ton agricultural waste is generated, out of which 10 million ton of wheat straw, 141 million ton of sugarcane waste is generated. This mud fuska is nowadays and also from ancient time is used in Punjab, UP, Rajasthan, and in the region where the climate is hot dry. In the rest part of India, brick cover technique is more popular, but is in the long term it is not advantageous. On the other hand, mud fuska tiles are better thermal insulation properties and lightweight and more economical. So the need for research was the existing mud fuska composite treatment required a lot of time, resources, and skilled labor, and there is some shrinkage problem, that is durability issue, cracking issue also is there. So we have developed precast mud fuska composite roof tiles and precast mud composite for wall also. And we have incorporated remedial measures to overcome the problem of shrinkage in traditional mud fuska techniques. The target specification to develop mud fuska composites was for tile, the dimension was 1 feet by 1 feet by 50 mm. For wall masonry block, 400 by 400 by 200 mm. The density specification targeted was 1000 to 1300 kg per meter cube. Modulus of rupture was more than 1.5 MPa, compressive strength more than 3.5, and K value less than 0.30. So firstly, we have collected soil, wheat straw, bagasse from local sites, and then rubber tire waste from Ghaziabad, and through cryogenic grinding, we have crumbled the rubber with the particle size less than 30 micron. So preparation of raw material was done for soil, rubber tire waste, bagasse, footwear industry waste. Followed by material characterization. Characterization of soil was done. Liquid limit was determined as per IS 2115. That is IS code for mud fuska composite. The plasticity index would be in between 10 to 15 percentage. So liquid limit and plastic limit we have determined. Specific gravity and some parameter for crumb rubber like volatility, sieving, diameter, moisture content also determined, and they have compared with the reference value. For wheat straw and bagasse fiber, we have determined the land diameter, aspect ratio, specific weight, moisture content, and water absorption. So as I was saying that the PI value should be in between 10 to 15 percentage. So we have optimized the PI value by adding cement ranging from 2 to 10 percentage, and we have found that at cement content of 8 percentage, the PI value was about 11 percentage. Here in this slide, The liquid limit after adding 8 to 10% of cement was about 25, and plastic limit was 14. So about 11% of PI was obtained, which was more than 10%. Proctor compaction test we have determined. Now, for optimization of water binder ratio for flowability, we have conducted the flow value as we normally do in the motor. So the three kind of flow value we have taken 30, 100, and 150%, and for 6 mixes A, B, C, D, GA, and GR. So we have optimized the water binder ratio using flow table test, followed by casting and curing. Casting for compressive strength, flexural strength, drying shrinkage, and thermal performance we have done to make model house. The mud composite block at green state as shown here. Now, the compressive strength of all 24 mixes we have determined, and we have found that for GA mix, in which the crumb rubber up to 7.5%, wheat straw up to at 7.5% of soil and cement was used as 8% of soil to stabilize that cohesionless soil. So for that mix, the compressive strength was 3.92 MPa. Regarding thermal properties, it was found that as the crumb rubber was used, the thermal conductivity, thermal effusivity, thermal diffusivity, and heat capacity was improved. And for mixed GA with water binder ratio of 0.40, the K value was 0.25 MPa, sorry, watt per meter Kelvin. So for finalize this GA, that is addition of waste in the total weight of soil and cement, A for addition. So we have developed the tile of 1 feet by 1 feet, and also mud composite blocks. And for tile, we have rechecked the thermal conductivity by transient state method as well as gradient hot plate method using ASTM-C 177. And we have found that at density of 1020 kg per meter cube, the thermal conductivity was 0.25 watt per meter Kelvin. And according to IS 3792, K value for mud Fusca composite should be less than 0.519 watt per meter Kelvin. So this is comparative chart as replacement of brick. If we will use this mud composite block, the compressive strength was 3.9 MPa. Density was quite half, approximately half than that of class 3 brick. K value was 0.25 MPa, which is quite less than brick, and heat capacity was half less than brick. The desired target is given in the right hand side, and for tiles, and we have achieved the density of 1020 kg per meter cube. This is the final mix proportion. We have used cement up to 8% of cohesionless soil. Wheat straw addition, that is for GA mix, 7.5% of OPC plus soil. Crumb rubber was added at up to 10% of OPC plus soil. By doing this, the K value was 0.25 watt per meter Kelvin. MOR value was 1.85 MPa, and drying shrinkage was 0.071%, which was in the range also. For live demo testing, we have developed a model house, and we have found that for conventional brick house, that is in the left side, the temperature in the night was more than that of outside, and while for the mud Fusca composite house, that is wall was made for mud composite blocks, and roof was made by roof that mud composite tiles. So we have found that in the night the inside temperature was less than that of outside temperature, and the difference was approximately 4 to 6 degrees centigrade, and temperature and humidity sensor we have used to measure these data. So in conclusion, as per IS 2115, the PI range for soil is 10 to 15%. So we have to add the OPC or lime. In this case, we have used OPC up to 8% to stabilize the soil. Mixed GA was the final optimized mix, and with the properties as given in this point. The output was the development of engineered lightweight mud composites using waste materials and tiles also. And we have also designed the nomograms, that is at which PI, how much percentage of stabilizer would be used with how much of water binder ratio, and the tentative strength, density, and thermal performance will be how much. So it is just tentatively. One can then optimize accordingly if he or she use the different kind of waste materials. So this work was funded by CSIR 800 project, that is mainly focuses for rural and urban housing. And for publicity, this work has been published in the brochure of CSIR and our institutional letter also. So these are references that we have followed during carrying out this work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajesh, for your presentation. One question has been raised in the chat box. Does it susceptible to fire hazard? Have you any analysis has been done in this or not?
No, for fire hazard, the analysis has not been done, but this is above this non-erodible fire-resistant mud plaster is applied. So this is not directly exposed to the environment. So definitely in our lab, non-erodible fire-resistant mud plaster we have developed. So if we will apply that non-erodible plaster, definitely the performance of this composite will be good in the fire hazard also.
Okay. One query from my side is that while using these types of materials, especially in case of residential structures in rural areas, or in we can nowadays we are also using in urban areas also. A few practical problem comes in that smell from the bathroom, it leaks to the drawing room or the bedroom, because in case of conventional brick and the cement plaster usually it doesn't happen,
Yes.
but in case of these types of materials and using it in the structure, the smell from the bathroom or from the drainage area, it leaks to the, or it passes to the adjoining room. So is there any possibility that this can be avoided?
Yes, sir. I think by adding some kind of polymer or
Have you taken this consideration in your project?
no, not right now. We have not taken, but
Okay.
sir, as per your
because
suggestion, I will take.
because nowadays you have seen that some brick tiles, low weight tiles, bricks are available in the market.
Yes, sir.
They are lightweight, but that is a practical problem we are facing, that when we use it in our own construction, in our residential purposes, the smell of the bathroom, it comes to the adjoining areas. So that is the biggest problem we are facing. So these practical problem has to be incorporated by research organizations, so that we can uh, include it, and we have to find more and more solutions to it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I will find the solution, and I will do this part of study in my this project also.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you very much. Now I would like to invite paper ID 142.
Uh, Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, you please upload your presentation.
Uh, Good afternoon, sir. My topic for the presentation will be the analysis of critical factors affecting labor productivity of the construction project in Himachal Pradesh. So my co-author is Dr. Rishi Rana, and I'll be presenting the whole PPT. Now, if you talk about this construction industry, so as we all know that this is a labor-intensive industry, and it also provides employment to the large population of India, because the unskilled labor that is required for this industry is very large. So, but now it is providing employment, and this is also offering a better life. But still, because apart from having the best labor, best equipment, and high-end technology, the final productivity that comes out to be low whenever it is being evaluated. There can be many reasons for that. Some would be the technical one, some would be the other one. But in this particular study, we're going to study about the labor factor, that how the labor productivity is being calculated, or what are the main factors that is affecting the labor productivity that ultimately reducing the productivity of the construction site. So the before we go into the methodology part, the labor productivity in the construction project or in any other industry, the productivity can be calculated as the amount or the quantity of the output that we got from the quantity of input we have put into that particular industry. So in this case, when we talk about the construction project, so the quantity of output will be in the terms of the installed quantities at the end of the project, whether our project is getting completed in time with the available resources or not. And the input parameters that we take here will be the labor hour that they are giving into the construction site. So in this particular case, the productivity is measured as the labor hour per unit of the work. The significance of the productivity lies to the fact that it helps in to the comparing the performance, so that particular shifting and modification can be done so that the productivity of the overall project can be increased. So this will be the methodology that we will be following, or I'll be following. That first of all, we have taken the sites. So the 5 sites has been taken from the different parts of Himachal Pradesh, and next one will check the productivity of each site. Next one is the selection of the factors affecting the labor productivity, that will be based on the literature review and from the expert panels. The next one will be the measuring the sensitivity or severity of the factors. And at the end, we're gonna see what are the major factors that has been affecting the labor productivity in the construction industry of Himachal Pradesh, or construction site of Himachal Pradesh. So the site selection which we have taken here. So in the site selection part, the sites are chosen on the two parameters. Basically, the first one is the demography, in which the sites have been chosen where there is continuous work going on. Like the one site, let's suppose one building is being completed, the next building is coming up in its vicinity very soon. So there is a continuous flow of data, or the this area are providing more employment to, or the continuous employment to the laborers. And the next one is the sites which are having the reliable data that is easily available to us. So in this case, these sites which we have taken based on these two criteria is first one, the construction of a residential building in the Palampur, Kangra district, that we have taken as a site one. So apart from next all the slides, we'll be taking these at site one, site two, site three. Okay. So next construction is the roadside construction. It's not construction of a building again in the Kangra district. The next one is the riverside construction of a building in the Rajgarh district of Sirmaur. The fourth one is the residential building in plain region of Kasauli in the district Solan. And another one is the building construction in the urban area of Solan, that is in Solan district. So after the site selection, intensive literature review has been done to find the factors that affect the labor productivity, and they have been reviewed by the industry expert and also from the construction management firms, or the team that works in the construction management. And based on that, we have noted down, or we have narrowed down 16 factors that is mainly responsible for, that may be the responsible for the labor decrease in the labor productivity in Himachal Pradesh. So these are the 16 factors that we have included, and based on these 16 factors, a questionnaire has been formed. Sorry, before questionnaire, the next part is the 5 sites which we have chosen. We have calculated the productivity of each site. So for the productivity part, it is a random process in which a certain group of persons were asked that the work they are doing, whether they are directly related to the direct work which is implementing or that is affecting the project. The next type of work is the support work, and the other part is the work that is they are not doing any work, so that is delaying the project. So for once, the first site, we have calculated the productivity, and we have now the sample is less, but that gives us a sufficient idea about the productivity, and based on that, we have calculated the productivity of all the sites. So in the right side, in the figure one, the productivity of all the sites has been calculated. So in this case, we can see that the site 4 is having very less, that is the 30% productivity itself. And in that case, this is a requirement that we must find out the factors. Now, here is the catch, or here is the thing, that this low productivity can be because of the anything. It can be because of the technical fault, or it may be because of the management fault. But here are the factors which we have taken. We have considered only the labor productivity part. So this is not giving the actual answer that what may be the reason for the low productivity at each site, but it gives an idea that each site is not having 100% productivity. That is, all the works are not going to be completed in time because of many factors. So we have taken the labor factor, and based on that, with these factors, we have formed a questionnaire. So the questionnaire which we have formed, that contains of this 16 question based on the ranking of each factors from 1 to 5, that a respondent is being given to that those questionnaire, and he has been asked to fill, or he has been asked to rate it from 1 to 5, 5 being the maximum. So from all the sites, the 5 sites, we have got, now the number are less, but since at this particular region we have just gone to 5 sites, we may increase to more sites later on, but right now we got 87 valid responses, and this is the distribution, that at site 1 20, site 2 18, site 3 22, site 4 15, and site 5 12, from the engineers and the workers that were working in the respective sites. Now, once we got this questionnaire, the questionnaire, the data of this questionnaire is being validated with the help of the test reset method. So in this test method, the same questionnaire is being given. Basically, some persons were marked that this has filled this particular questionnaire, and the same questionnaire is given to the same person, and his response is being noted. So, and after noting that response, we match the two responses from the same worker or same engineer, the respondent, and we see, or we try to match that how reliable data we have got. Now, once we get the responses from the questionnaire, now the work is being distributed into two stages. First one is finding the important factors out of the 16 one, and the next part is finding their relative importance index. So, if you talk about the relative importance index, and that can be calculated by the total score for any particular factor divided by A into N. N is the total number of respondent, and A being the highest weightage. So, based on the RRI, one can rank that out of many factors, how a particular factor is being ranked among the various factors. So based on that, for all the sites, the RI values has been calculated. And in this case, we can see that the few of the important factors are the rework and the labor's efficiency that we have calculated. But again, from this data, we have got that at particular site, at particular location, what are the top 5 factors that we have calculated based on the RI values. So these are the factors for each site. So based on these factors, we have calculated, that is the 9 factors which we are having at all the sites that we have taken into the consideration. We have calculated the RRI values, and the average RRI value has been calculated at the end. So here in this case, if we calculate the average RRI value, so the rework efficiency and the materials availability are the significant factors with having RII as 8.8531, 0.7749, and 0.7102 respectively. So based on that, from the literatures we have seen that if the RRI value is more than zero point 0.7, those factors in any industry, whether it is a construction or other industry, they will be considered as the critical factors, and that is the objective of our study also. That in this case, the rework is given the rank 1 because it's having the RI value as 0.851. So these 5 factors that we have seen is having the RI value of RI value more than 0.7. So based on that, if we conclude this, that the overall productivity of all the sites are very less that we have seen, and for site 1 it was 40%, for site 1 it was 50%, for 2 it was 40%, third it was 70%, but for the fourth and fifth it was very less. So it indicates that their productivity study must be carried out, and if we know that the productivity, the decline in the productivity is because of the any particular factors that we have taken, so in that case, the construction project, the management team can apply or can rectify these deficiencies, and in that case, it can improve the project completion time. The result obtains were from the specific reason as well as the planning specific. For example, the productivity of the site 3 that I have already discussed is very less. So for that case, it may happen that it is not just because of the labor productivity. Some technical issue may also be there that we also should look after. And there are few limitations of this particular study, that the total number of respondents that we have taken was not large enough. So that gives the accuracy in that case is a little bit compromised. The next part is that we have taken the construction worker for our study, but we can also take the contractors, the supervisors, etc., because it will consist the whole of the industry. And apart from the industry, from the construction field, we can also take into the consideration of the laborers from the highway construction, hydraulic design construction, and others part, so that the overall construction industry productivity analysis can be done. So these are some of the references which I have gone through, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Kausal Kumar, for your presentation. And this is all about from this session chair. We have taken 13 papers today, and hopefully most of the audience have benefited from it. Just one announcement is to be made, is that the participants from all the track and from all the sessions, they are requested to join the validity function from 5 p.m. So link has been shared in the Google Meet here in the chat box also. Otherwise, you can also download from the mail which you have received. And in that validity function, the best paper award will be declared. So please be joined by 4:55 p.m. So that we can conclude our 2-day international conference smoothly. So thank you very much for your time and for your research work. Hope this conference will help each one of us to progress in our academic and research career. Thank you very much.